This is NBC Nightly News with Tom Brokaw, reporting tonight from NBC News headquarters in New York.
Good evening. America Close Up tonight, logging a legacy. Only 5% of the lower 48 states' virgin forest remains, most of it in the national forest. Striking a balance between development and preservation is now striking sparks between loggers and the Forest Service. Idaho, still heavily forested, is the site of our report tonight from NBC's Robin Lloyd.
Not even winter snowstorms stopped the logging on Idaho's Clearwater National Forest, one of the largest supplies of timber in the northern Rockies. The old-growth trees here mean big money for logging companies and for local residents, jobs. But that may be changing. The amount of timber cut on the Clearwater is down by 80%. Lumberjacks like Mike Allen have been hard hit.
We used to work 8-9 months a year. Now a lot of the times I only work 6 months a year.
In lumber towns like Orofino, some people blame environmentalists for the slowdown. But mill owners like Don Conkle say the biggest threats to the local economy are environmentally concerned managers within the Forest Service.
If the Forest Service doesn't live up to their obligations and the forest plan, there's not going to be enough timber to go around, and we just won't be able to run.
For years, the Forest Service has given the timber industry here pretty much anything it wants on national forest land. A steady source of lumber was in part what Teddy Roosevelt intended when he set up the Forest Service in 1905. But last year, local Forest Service officials resisted orders from Washington to increase the timber harvest.
We're basically just running out of trees and watersheds. We need time for these watersheds to rest and recover so we can meet our standards.
Tests show that heavy logging over the past decade has fouled 70% of the streams in the Clearwater, killing fish. Huge sections of the forest have been leveled. The Clearwater's supervisor, Win Green, has been reprimanded by his superiors for not allowing more national forest timber to be cut. But Green says if he does, federal environmental laws will be violated.
We can't go back in there and continue to impact those areas until they have a chance to restore themselves.
Not just here in the Rockies, but in other parts of the country, Forest Service officials are starting to criticize their own organization for not doing enough to save the national forests. At issue here is nothing less than the future role of the Forest Service and the public lands the agency manages. Since 1980, huge sections of national forest have been leveled, nearly 10 million acres, an area roughly the size of Massachusetts, Rhode Island, and Connecticut combined.
If we kept harvesting through the rest of this decade and into the 21st century, at the rate that we have the past 30 years, we'd soon be out of a wood supply.
John Muma was fired because of those views. But timber industry experts and their allies in Congress believe his concerns and those of others are nonsense.
If we took an approach like that, we would never cut an acre of wheat. We would never cut an acre of corn. For the food supply, lumber and timber is something that every American uses every day.
For the people in lumber towns like Orofino, a way of life is now threatened. But many of those who have taken on the responsibility as stewards of the nation's trees see a more serious threat to the life of this country's remaining forests. Robin Lloyd, NBC News, Orofino, Idaho.
I'll have the latest on Michael Milken when Nightly News continues.